to here. I'm going to give a similar video to the one I did last time. I'm going to take a look at our current deployments, how we're doing, what opportunities we have, what vulnerabilities we have. I'll go through and give everybody a click through. People who are interested in finding new fighting positions, I can give you some suggestions on that. Then I'll go through and take a look at the Russians and how they're deployed and what they're doing. So let's take a look. First off, we can see this BMP right here from this tank. The gunner's rotating, so 1st Platoon HQ of C Company is going to knock down that BMP next turn. This vehicle right here from 1st Platoon C Company also is going to get line of sight on this BMP over here. Gunner's rotating, so we're going to have 2 BMP kills probably within the first 30 seconds of the next round. Not too bad for us. So overall, I think we've got some really good defensive positions. The West is more or less locked down, although I would like to make sure we get more line of sight on Red Sox and Yankees. The center, we've got some great fighting positions and good line of sight. When I give you the unit click through, we can see that. The one concern that I do have here is that given that the Russians seem to be moving a lot of vehicles in this area, I would like to have a little bit more coverage down this alley. I was supposed to move battalion headquarters tank up, but Gray didn't do that. It might be worth also putting some Javelins or maybe a Bradley looking down there. In terms of the tanks here, these tanks from 1st Platoon C Company really can't see all that much. This vehicle here, as you can see, doesn't really have great line of sight up to there, doesn't really have great line of sight forward, because of the low rise in the terrain there. So it really only has about 300 meters of interrupted coverage to its front and maybe about 500 to 700 meters, but that's blocked by trees and will be somewhat obscured by the smoke. So it might be worth moving this tank up to another position, maybe even backing it up and having it help out its partner over there. This tank here, similar, because of the low rise in the terrain to its front, really can't see all that much. It's got about 200 meters to the front. It does have good line of sight up to the flank here, but it might be worth moving it over so it hangs out with its partner tank here and it can engage enemy targets to the front and to the side. This tank here, again, somewhat limited to the front, although it does have reasonably good line of sight down Yankees, and then looking over here to this fighting position. All right, in terms of C Company headquarters, C Company's XO tank, commanded by Herp. Again, good lines of sight to the center still. C Company HQ, Hob, you can see somewhat down the length of it, but given the low rise in the terrain right here, I think you're still going to have to move forward a little bit more if you want to see down this road right here. 2nd Platoon HQ for C Company. This vehicle has very limited line of sight to the center. It can see targets over here, really can't see much over here. 2nd Platoon, C Company here, 2nd Main Battle Tank. Limited line of sight. It's got okay sight to the center for about 500 meters, but, you know, Ornat Wood is just not a good fighting position. It's on low ground. It really can't see all that much. So I'd recommend either possibly pulling a vehicle back and keeping 2nd Platoon in reserve, or maybe if we need to, shuttling those vehicles over here. But right now they're not doing a whole lot of good in the center. Similar position here. It can see some things to its front, but not much. One possibility to think about might be moving these vehicles back to this position here. Putting vehicles behind this building here, behind this building here, behind this building here. Their flanks are protected and they'll have much better line of sight than if they'd be in the Ornat Woods. Just something to think about. All right, this vehicle here, I think it's a good fighting position. It can engage enemy targets out to a fairly decent range to its front. I like it. It's a good position to fight from. All right, so that's pretty much it for C Company. Willie, I know you were interested in looking for some fighting positions, so I'll give you a quick click through of your units. Willie, good position with the Bradley, facing really well. This infantry here, you can see the infantry are loaded to the gills. They've got 5 AT-4s, and they've got their Javelin launcher, and they're going to be hiding out right here. This is a great position. You can engage any enemy units coming through here and coming through here. So this is a great place for them to be. Might even be worth putting another infantry unit in there if you thought about it. You've got this unit right here. I would not leave this Bradley here. It's very, very exposed from the flank. I would consider maybe moving the Bradley up here and facing it this direction and dismounting the infantry and parking them in here. Or another possible consideration would be to take the infantry and put them maybe somewhere over to your flank here and like have the infantry screening the advance there. Or another possibility, have infantry possibly somewhere like here and have the Bradley maybe a little bit further back to screen them. As for this Bradley unit right here, again, a similar suggestion. It might be worth either tucking them somewhere here behind this tree so it's hull down, or possibly like somewhere over here, and have the infantry dismounted with their javelin up there. The infantry, as you can see, though, have still not acquired the javelin launcher. It's still mounted in the vehicle. All right, so it's more or less an overview of the positions that everybody has. Also, one last thing, Willie, this position here, reasonably good fighting position for the Bradley, although I might reverse it just a little bit so you're not going to get engaged in your immediate front. But that's a good place for that Bradley to be. All right, looking over and taking a look at D Company. D Company, your headquarters units right here really can't see a whole lot. You're keeping them reserve, I guess, which is fine. Looking at 1st Platoon D Company, 1st Platoon D Company. There is a tree that does somewhat obscure your line of sight to the front, but beyond that, you have reasonably good distance. It might be worth maybe scooting your vehicle over a little bit so it's sitting right here. That way it has uninterrupted line of sight and that tree isn't blocking things. Over here, good firing position. Good firing position for D Company, 1st Platoon HQ. Good firing position here. Good firing position here. Also a good firing position here. All right, now looking over here in the Corps Cops, this vehicle got a laser warning. We didn't see it in the video, but the vehicles pop smoke. This is IR obscuring smoke, so we can't see out of it. They can't see in through it. That's going to blind this vehicle for the foreseeable future. It might be worth the possibility of moving this vehicle, maybe moving a vehicle to a fighting position like right about here, or fighting position right about here. That way it's not obscured by its own smoke and it's going to be able to see and shoot enemy units coming out of there. So this is a good position if you want to redeploy it. Here in the Corps Cops, you've got smoke screening your flank, good line of sight to your front, great position to be in. Bradleys, good positions here, 2 of them. Bradleys have got the toes and the 25 millimeters. They're going to be able to probably slow down enemy units if they decide to come through here, but we're going to have a more effective response than just 2 vehicles. They can't stop a Russian company push, but this is an excellent early warning speed bump force to have. All right, Jaguars, I know you were interested in finding some spots for your sniper teams. So you can see here's one of your sniper teams. You can see they've acquired the 84. Good lines of sight over to this position here. One position you might want to consider thinking about is this 2-story house here, which has great lines of sight here, here to the front, and over here. So this is a good position to dominate the map from, although be careful when moving through this open ground because you might get spotted by the Russians. Over here, you got the sniper team is going to move up to here. I would consider maybe the possibility either of moving it up to here. It's got a little bit better lines of sight from this position here. Or maybe even moving the unit over here to this small house. They'll have a lot more cover, a lot more concealment, and they can see a little bit over there and a little bit over there because they do have thermal sights that can see through smoke. All right, that's more or less the rundown of everything. Oh, you can see the infantry units here are still moving around so they can acquire their anti-tank weapons. That's going to take a little bit longer. Sorry about that, Frey. As for the Bradleys, Bradley here is backed up. Great keyhole position in the center there, although it does have to be mindful of getting a flank shot there, so maybe scoot it up just a little bit further. This Bradley here, good lines of sight over here, although there is a tree blocking its vision to its front. The one possibility, if you want to cover the west a little bit more, you could back the vehicle up, face it this direction as a suggestion. All right, so that's more or less a rundown of all our units, what they can see, and some potential deployment positions. What I'm really concerned about for the next turn is enemy movements moving through Yankees Road and Red Sox Road. I want to move additional units to this area over here to cover Red Sox Road and the exits out of it. I want to have additional units keyholing down and facing down Yankees Road. So C Company, Hob Gadling, this is your responsibility. Lock down Red Sox Road, lock down Southwest Farm. D Company, Ace, just make sure you've got units in good positions and be prepared to support C Company, because it looks to me like the Russians are making a lot of effort in this flank, and given that we haven't seen or heard anything over here, that's telling me that they're focusing a lot of their effort in the center and the west, which is where our defense is strongest, so I'm fine with that. All right, so taking a look at what the Russians are doing right now. So the Russians, we just get a lot more spotting contacts. We've got probably a company's worth of BMP armored fighting vehicles in this wood right here. We've got sound contacts of vehicles moving through here. We've got sound contacts and visual contacts of units moving through here. So a quick breakdown of what this looks like to me. This looks to me like they're making a full-strength BMP company push right up through the center. So that's going to be anywhere from about 9 to 12 BMPs, which have 30mm autocannons, 100mm HE cannons, ATGMs that can fire through that gun, plus infantry, about 8 to 9 infantry per vehicle, who have RPGs, machine guns, and whatnot. So it's a pretty potent fighting force. If they can get dismounted in this objective here, they can just bum rush us with infantry and bum rush us with vehicles at close range and overwhelm us. So I want to make certain that we can try to kill the enemy units as they're coming down these roads and through these areas right here. We also can see the Russians have these T-90 MBTs. That suggests to me there's at least a platoon of these moving through here. These are nowhere near as good as our Abrams, but they're potent tanks, especially at close range. So I want to make sure we focus on either knocking them out, or blinding them. Those are our first priority. This vehicle right here is probably the most worrying thing we've seen right here. This is the Tunguska AA. It's the only Russian unit that can successfully shoot down our Ravens with its drones. And when we saw in the video, it looks like it's firing. So we do have to consider the possibility we may lose our Raven. I want to keep the Ravens still spotting. That it's going to allow that's absolutely important to continue spotting our fire mission, but we have to consider the possibility we may use our UAV very, very soon. As for fire missions, Takeen, you can see here, this is the crack fire support team of C Company. They've got a fire mission that they're calling in right now. That fire mission is going to splash down in 3 minutes. So it's going to hit their Tunguska, which is good news for us. It's going to also hit the units in this general vicinity here. We can also see this fire mission here coming from the crack spotter of D Company, the fire support team. So graded is a huge favor. We have two very, very good fire support teams. Splash down here is in 2 minutes. So I expect we're going to catch a large chunk of Russian vehicles as they're moving through here with 105mm artillery. That's going to do some pretty substantial damage. All right, looking at the center here. It looks to me like they're trying to move vehicles through here so they can get to the North Road Junction and so they can dismount infantry in this area here. The impression I get is they're trying to dismount infantry in as many little houses and huts as possible and use that to ambush us if we move forward. So if we do take offensive action, we got to be mindful of that. Also looks like they're moving vehicles down the North Road Junction right here. So the units here in the 100-acre wood that can see down this road are going to be absolutely murderous to them right here. And we can see here we've got vehicles, again, that have line of sight on them. So we're doing really, really well. We've got great firing positions. We've got good lines of sight. We've got good engagement. The only things that I'm concerned about are the C Company vehicles in Ornat Woods. Some slight tweaks to our deployment here. D Company looks solid, although we do need to make sure we sort out the Javelin clusterfuck, and the snipers can get their good positions there. But we're in an excellent position moving forward. We've got artillery coming in right where we need it. We've got vehicles in excellent ambush positions, and we're already starting to rack up kills, and next turn we're going to see a lot more. So that's pretty much it for me.